The town of Farmington. Respecting history, planning the future.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the March 14th, it is 14th.
No, 15.
15th. Today's the
15th.
15th.
Yeah.
Because of the snowstorm, we're now here on Wednesday for this town council meeting. But welcome, everyone, and please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item on our agenda tonight is a proclamation for Diana Meyer. Gary.
I'll read that. Yes.
Would you like to come up with Gary? If not, it's okay.
I'd like to read this proclamation tonight.
Hold down the mic a little so we can. Good, perfect.
I'd love to read this proclamation tonight. Before that, though, I have to tell a little bit about Diana. She was one of my first customers in my store that welcomed me to Unionville. And she's been in ever since. And it's just great to see her. This is a great honor to read this to her.
Thank you.
I'd like to read this proclamation. Whereas Diana M. Meyer has served on the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission as an alternate member since its inception as a study committee in April 2000 through June 2016, and whereas Diana M. Myers was founding member of the Unionville Village Improvement Association, served as president for a number of years, and was the first chairperson of the Unionville Festival, and whereas Diana M. Myers has volunteered with the Unionville Museum since 1998 and served as vice president for a number of years, and where Diane M. Myers has been instrumental in preserving and documentation of historic Unionville Village and archiving notable items at the museum, and whereas Diane M. Meyer has always been a remarkable advocate, educated voice for Unionville Village community with a focus on preserving important historic elements while understanding the needs of modernization. And whereas Diane M. Myers has always maintained a focus on public good and accept to protect the public interest over private interests while devoting countless hours of time, energy, personal commitment to better our community and enrich the lives of the residents of Unionville and the town of Farmington. Now therefore, the Farmington Town Council hereby commends Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission member Diane M. Meyer for her excellent work on behalf of the community, and hereby thank her for her selfless dedication and immeasurable contributions and commitments to the town of Farmington and its residents. Dated this 15th day of February 2017 at Farmington, Connecticut, Nancy Nix, Chair, Farmington Town Council. And we'd like to present to you.
And we have the plaque is coming, so you can get a picture with the plaque in just a minute.
I'm sorry, it's coming down.
Oh.
Recognize me and all my friends in the room. Thank you.
We have another proclamation for you.
Stand up, it'll be a short one, Diana.
Gary, wait a minute. We have the plaque from the town.
I'm sorry.
There.
I'm sorry.
Now you can have a picture with it.
Thank you very much.
Pass it off.
Okay, Mike?
Or Diana. And you can sit if you want. Keep standing. You do want. Good, you should. Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it. I just wanted to also offer my thanks to Diana for all that she's done for our town for so many, many years. On a personal note, I just wanted to say thank you. But I have a citation from the State of Connecticut General Assembly, official citation introduced by Representative Mike D'Amico, Representative Derek Slapp, Senator Beth Bai, and Senator Terry Geritana. Be it hereby known to all that the Connecticut General Assembly hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Diana Meyer in recognition of your many years of thoughtful and dedicated service to the Unionville Historic District and Properties Commission, the Unionville Village Improvement Association, and the Unionville Museum. Your balanced approach to preserving the past while preparing for the future has served your community well. The entire membership extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses the hope for continued success. And given on this 14th day of March 2017 at the State Capitol in Hartford, Martin Looney, President Pro Tem of the State Senate, Joe Arasimowicz, Speaker of the House, and Denise Merrill, Secretary of the State. Congratulations, Diana, and thank you.
And I have to say, too, it's wonderful to see so many people here tonight for this proclamation. It's certainly special, Diana. We usually don't have all these people come out. And it's certainly a tribute to you and what you've done. So we really appreciate that for the town. Next, we have the public hearing.
A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, March 15th, 2017, at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers to amend Chapter 55, Purchasing of the Town of Farmington Code. Date of Farmington Connect is first day of March 2017. Kathleen A. Egan, Town Manager.
I'm going to call on Joe Swetke to go over our changes to our purchasing ordinance.
I'm not sure. This will probably be quicker than by the time they change that. So basically, the last council meeting, we handed out changes to the. We handed out, excuse me, proposed changes to the purchasing ordinance. This ordinance hasn't been changed in at least the time I've been here, and some people say back since 1993 or 1987, depending upon the sections. The changes really are in three categories. The first change, and probably the biggest change that we're talking about, is right now our purchasing ordinance calls for town-wide bids, public bids for any purchase over $10,000. What we're suggesting or asking is that $10,000 cap be raised to $25,000. The state of Connecticut, for towns that don't have charters, have amended their state law about 3 years ago to raise their level to $25,000. So that's one of the big changes that we're asking for. It's not going to cut down on the number of bids, but it's not going to cut down dramatically on the number of bids that we have go out, but it will help us with some of the smaller stuff that we do that doesn't necessarily need a formal bid. And we sometimes actually have trouble getting a vendor to submit a bid for something that's small because they don't want to go through the paperwork. What we're proposing in place of that is to also have different requirements at different dollar amounts for purchasing. So we'd have $25,000 and up, we'd have to have a formal written bid. For anything between $10,000 to $24,999, we would do written quotes, which is a little more informal than bids. We would still require departments to get written quotes from vendors when they want to buy something or have a service provided. But they wouldn't have to be a formal process where we advertise it for 15 days. and go through the process of requiring performance bonds and things like that. And then any purchase that's under, that basically is from $5,000 to $10,000, we would just do verbal quotes. So basically what we're asking in this section is just to shift dollar amounts, increase the dollar amounts. Also we're asking for, we just have some changes to, just minor corrections to conform with our purchasing policy, or minor changes to the ordinance. Simple things, for example, as we want to now be able to, our ordinance is silent with the idea of posting bids on websites or even emailing bids. And although that doesn't prevent us from doing it, we actually, in fact, will post bids on our website and email bids. We want to be able to just formalize that we can do that, so there isn't any question about it. So again, it's just a simple, or conforming with what our current policies are. Another big area that we're looking at is can you just move it up to the third page? Keep going. Keep going. Okay, thank you. In section 55-8, we have a section that talks about professional services and what professional services are. And it actually, the ordinance says that we don't have to go out to bid for certain types of services, i.e. professional services. And what we're just suggesting here is just a cleanup, clarification of what we're, when we do have to go out to bid and when we don't. For example, under the current ordinance, we actually don't have to put out to bid our auditor services, which we'll be acting on later tonight. It's not a requirement of our ordinance. We put it out anyway. It's just good practice to do so. So what we're suggesting here is that we take out the language that says consultant type services and just have advisory type services. So, for example, your town attorney contract or any type of service that where you want to hire somebody to provide advice to the council or to a town department. That doesn't have to be put out to bid, but other services, more consultative in nature, would have to be put out to bid. In the final section, that is a big change, is at the very bottom in red. What we talk about is cooperative purchasing. We actually had stuck cooperative, or somebody had stuck cooperative purchasing under section 55-8, which is the under the professional services section. We're proposing that it have its own section. Cooperative purchasing is something that's really exploded in the past 10 years. And basically what cooperative purchasing is buying off of state contracts or buying through CREC or through CROG. A lot of organizations have come out and established cooperative purchasing practices. Right now, if I wanted to buy a town truck, for example, I can go to a state contract, I can go to a contract through United States Communities, I can go through a contract with MEHAC, which is a Massachusetts Higher Education Association. I can go to any number. I can go to Western States Alliance. So there's any number of cooperative purchasing organizations out there that we avail ourselves of. And we just wanted to put in some procedures, and that's what we're proposing in a new section 55-12, where we would have a procedure for using cooperative purchasing wherever possible, but also prevent some abuse of it, and require people to actually shop the cooperatives from now on, and when we do our purchasing. So somebody can go to a state, you can go and buy a dump truck off the state contract and say, here, we could buy this dump truck for $180,000. That's the state contract. But somebody else could say, well, I can go to Western States Alliance and I can get that same truck for $175,000. So what we want to look for in this, what we want to do is put a procedure in place where we actually encourage departments, or require departments, I guess, to look at different cooperative organizations to try to find the best price for purchasing something. And those are basically the changes that we have on the ordinance.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have any public comment about this issue specifically? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing at 7:15. And next, we have our public hearing on the budget. Paula.
A public hearing will be held on Tuesday, March 15th, 2017, at 7:05 PM in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the Town Manager's 2017-2018 recommended budget. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this first day of March 2017. Kathleen A. Egan, Town Manager.
Good evening. Myself organized here. Just see. All right. Farmington Town Council and members of the public, I present for your review the Town Manager's recommended budget for fiscal year 17-18. The general fund budget includes the recommended spending for the town, for the school system, for debt service, and for capital improvements. The recommended budgets for Westwood's Golf Course, the Recreation Fund, and solid waste collection and disposal are also included for your review. The Town Council set a target in which the town expenditure portion of the budget would increase no more than 2.25 to 2.75% above the current expenditures. Along with the Town Council budget target, the Town Council strategic plan and the town's capital improvement policy were the policy guidelines at the forefront when formulating this budget. The budget building process focused on the following funding themes. Maintain current service levels. I was directed to continue to fund accounts at levels that will enable the service to remain at a high standard. Maintain current capital funding levels. The cost of maintaining the town's infrastructure through the capital budget is a necessary expense that has to be recognized. This year's appropriation exceeds our capital improvement policy guidelines and will allow us to make significant headway towards meeting the town's capital improvement needs. The governor's budget and its impact on Farmington. The current state of Connecticut's fiscal crisis should be recognized as a potentially significant driver in this budget process. The governor's proposed budget has a considerable negative impact on the town of Farmington. Grants from the state are proposed to be decreased by 29.14%. This decrease equates to a 1.24 mill rate increase alone. The governor has also proposed that municipalities fund 1/3 of the annual teacher's retirement contribution. The state has historically paid the entire liability. Farmington's proposed payment is $3,343,850. This town manager's recommended budget includes the reductions in state grants, but does not include any contribution to the teacher's retirement. We are hopeful that as more information will be available from the state before the town council sends a budget to the annual town meeting in April. Additional budget workshops have been set in early April to review the budget again if needed. I will now review the expenditure portion of the town budget in detail. General administration. The general administration group of accounts includes expenses for the administrative branch of the town government and funding for nonprofit organizations that the town supports. Some areas to note. The central operations account shows 1/2 of a secretary position that is shared with the water pollution control plant during the plant upgrade project. The salary reserve account in the personnel budget will cover salary adjustments for the non-union staff and for members of the SEIU and IAF bargaining units. Salaries for members of ASME and IBPO bargaining units are reflected in the departmental accounts. The registrar budget has been decreased because of the reduced cost associated with a non-presidential election year. The contribution to the library is $2,486,715, which is a 2.5% increase above the current budget levels. The Economic Development Commission shows an increase to fund the community initiative like the seasonal flower program. The Town Hall electricity account has been increased to reflect actual usage as well as an anticipated rate increase. The proposed budget request for this account is $6,287,607, or a 2% decrease from the current budget. Public safety. The public safety group of accounts includes fire, police, emergency medical and ambulances services, dispatching, and building inspection functions. Some areas to note, the fire hydrant fees are projected to increase 3.6% for the upcoming fiscal year. In police, full-time payroll accounts reflect multiple years of contractual increases due to the timing of the contract settlements last year. The police fleet account includes funding for 2 new 24-hour patrol vehicles and a lease payment for 1 new unmarked vehicle. This account also funds lease payments for previously purchased unmarked vehicles. This is in line with our police vehicle replacement plan. The gas and diesel accounts have been decreased to reflect reduced pricing. The building inspector account shows a 5.5% increase. This increase supports the View Permit software system that was recently rolled out in the development area. This program is an online and electronic permitting system. It replaced a software package from the 1980s. The proposed budget request for this group of accounts is $9,831,839, or a 2.8% increase above the current budget. Public Works. The Public Works group of accounts includes Public Works and Development, Highway and Grounds, and Engineering. In Highway and Grounds, full-time payroll account reflect multiple years of contractual increases due to the timing of the contract. The Highway and Grounds operation account shows funding for 4 seasonal summer employees who will be used to supplement regular staff. The gas and diesel fuel accounts have been increased to reflect actual usage trends. The proposed budget for the Public Works group of accounts is $4,880,266, an increase of 4.9% above the current budget. Community and Recreation Services. The Community and Recreation Services group of accounts includes community service and housing. The Professional Service account and Elderly Service. The Professional Service account in Elderly Service funds Meals on Wheels and the needs for eligible residents that are not met by the state relief programs. The Recreation Supervisor position has been partially funded in the Recreation Service account in adherence to our recreation policy. The total request for Community and Recreation Service account is $852,995, an increase of 4.6%. The other group of accounts includes funds for employee benefits and contingencies. The recommended budget request for this group of accounts is $7,058,087, an increase of 4%. Some areas to note, the workers' compensation account has been decreased due to favorable renewal rates resulting from large claims dropping off. The pension contribution has been increased due to an increase in the accrued liability for inactive members of the retirement plan and an increase in the amount of required contributions to the defined compensation plan for recently hired employees. The health insurance account contains a 9% increase. This is the result of poor claims experience in the current year. The health and hypertension account has been decreased due to a stabilization of claim cost. I've also separated the budget by object, which includes salaries, benefits, supplies, equipment, contractual, and utilities. The increases for each object are as follows. The salaries overall have increased by 2.4%. The benefits have increased by 5.2%. The supplies have increased by 2.5%. The equipment has decreased by 19.1%. Contractual has increased by 0.9%, and utilities have increased by 3.4%. The proposed total town general fund appropriation is $28,910,794, which is a 2.41% increase above the current budget. The recommended budget of 2.41% maintains the service levels that the residents expect. However, it does not allow for any real expansion of services. The debt group of accounts includes appropriations to make principal and interest payments on the town's long-term bonded debt. The total recommended amount for the next fiscal year is $7,315,700. This is an increase of $488,331, or 7.15% from the previous year. In addition to the funds needed to pay debt service on existing debt obligations, funds are also included to pay the interest expense on a new issuance which will be sold in the fall of 2017. Special services. The refuse collection budget includes the cost of collecting and disposing of solid and bulky waste generated by town residents, our regional household hazardous waste program, and the town's landfill operation. This budget proposes no rate increase. The annual fee will remain at $235 per household. The capital improvements. The proposed general fund appropriation to support the capital improvement is $2,728,000. This is a decrease of 4.5% from last year's funding levels. The town's capital improvement plan, the CIP, and the town's strategic plan were the policy guidelines that were at the forefront when formulating the CIP while focusing the appropriations into four main funding themes. These themes are equipment infrastructure maintenance improvements, technology and communication initiatives, adherence to laws and compliance, and strategic plan initiatives. I've included a list of my recommended capital projects. There is no proposed bonding for fiscal year 17-18 other than a potential Farmington High School building project that will be a separate referendum item outside the budget process. The Water Pollution Control Authority. The Water Pollution this budget shows no increase in the sewer usage rate. The Board of Education account includes a request for $64,322,641, an increase of 2.61% above the current year's budget. I will now call on the school system to present their budget, and then I will be back to do the revenue portion of the budget.
Thank you, Matt, for the technologically challenged of us. So I make no representations at what may happen after this, but I'd like to thank the chair and the fellow town council members for the opportunity to come before you tonight and present, and tomorrow night too, I guess, and present the Board of Education's 2017-2018 recommended budget. On behalf of the entire Farmington Board of Education, I'd like you to know that the recommended budget that's going to be presented to you represents the dedicated and collaborative efforts and considered judgment of Kathy Greeter, our superintendent, her administrators, the teachers, and my fellow board members. And I would just like to thank everyone for their efforts in putting together this budget. As an innovative learning organization, the mission and vision of the Farmington School District is deeply committed to a pathway of continuous improvement. Our teaching and learning process is based upon the collaborative interactions amongst the students, educators, parents, and families, and emphasizes the importance of clear expectations, rigorous, standards-led curriculum, inspired instruction, personal effort, and engaged relationships leading to high level of achievement for all learners. We collectively, as the Board of Education Administration, are ultimately guided in our efforts by the fundamental principle that we call the vision of the graduate, whereby Farmington graduates will acquire an understanding of the essential knowledge and skills in the core academic disciplines and develop the thinking and learning skills needed to meet the challenges of local, national, and global citizenship in a rapidly changing world. Before you, right here is a slide with some granular details, but basically puts forth the learning skills that are noted in this slide are critical thinking and reasoning, communication and collaboration, problem solving and innovation, self-direction, and resourcefulness. And this next slide kind of shows our themes in practice in the schools. As we are all aware, these are uncertain times we are operating in, and as we as a board are cognizant of these uncertainties related to ongoing source funding at the state level and the impact that these changes may have on the communities like Farmington, its families, and our students. Against that backdrop, we undertook this budget process knowing it would be difficult to make any provision for substantial increases in expenditures on education. And you can rest assured that there were certainly items that both teachers and administrators would have wanted that never found their way into this budget. Trust me when I say that while we accepted the challenge, it was a difficult challenge. Accordingly, the Board of Education budget comes within the target range that we are provided with by the Town Council. We understand that these targets are fluid and may be just targets affected by a number of factors outside our control, but rest assured that we did not take that charge or guidance, we did take that charge or guidance seriously, and this budget is reflective of those efforts. As you will note from the details that will be presented to you both tonight and tomorrow evening, the board is recommending an increase of only 2.61% to its budget, or approximately $1.6 million, to bring the total proposed budget to $64,322,641 for the 2017-2018 year. And while I think that we can all reasonably agree that this is a responsible proposal on its face, the austerity underlying the proposed budget is most certainly reflected in the fact that of the proposed 2.6% increase, 2.3% of that is directly related to contractually obligated salaries and benefits. As such, just 0.26%, or approximately $165,000, of the recommended total budget of approximately $64 million is directly related to extending and building upon the valued proposition of the educational experience in Farmington. I think it goes without saying that Farmington is one of the best and highest performing school districts, not only in the state but also the nation. And our schools, administrators, faculties, and students are routinely recognized for their educational achievements. It's one of the very reasons myself, and I'm sure others, are proud that we can call ourselves residents of Farmington. And I think you'll find as we go through the budget in greater detail, that this recommended budget not only allows us to continue to achieve our expected high levels of excellence in challenging and difficult times, but also represents a considered, thoughtful, and fiscally responsible approach given the space we're operating in today and the uncertainty of the future. So I thank you again for allowing us to present our budget today and tomorrow evening, and also thank you for your time and effort in considering our proposed budget. I'll now introduce our Superintendent, Kathy Greeter, who will walk through the budget with you in greater detail.
Thank you.
Good evening, members of the Town Council and community members. I'm pleased to present the Board of Education's 2017-18 school year budget to the Town Council and community. The 17-18 school district budget was developed to address the Board of Education's mission and philosophy, five-year goals, vision of the graduate, and priorities within the budget guidelines, policies of the board, and state and federal requirements. It's important to note that throughout the budget development process, zero-based budgeting, maintaining services, and finding efficiencies were priorities given proposed reductions to state and federal funding to Farmington. This is a different view of the 2.61% increase. The 2.61% increase was achieved through a collaborative effort across the school district and in partnership with the Board of Education, placing a high priority, as I said, on zero-based budgeting, maintaining services, and a long-term approach to finding efficiencies in all aspects of our fiscal plan. Fiscal limitations proposed at the state level were considered throughout this budget, and we did not achieve everything that we planned on achieving in the budget for the coming year. Although fiscal limitations impact the rate at which we can achieve our vision of the graduate, it does not deter us from that vision as we look toward the coming school year. This slide illustrates our focus on zero-based budgeting, maintaining services, and finding efficiencies. 1.85% of the 2.61% increase reflects collaborative employee board negotiations with all associations. 0.50% of the 2.61 increase exemplifies our focus on excellence in employee benefits with a cost-effective healthcare design that took years of planning and partnership between all associations and the Board of Education. 0.21% of the 2.61 increase maintains technology aligned to our technology plan, which involved years of planning and implementation. Cost-effective technology, equipment, and infrastructure puts technology in the hands of all students each day in Farmington. All other is 0.05%, and for all other increases across the remaining accounts, for a 2.61% increase over the 2016-17 school district budget. The recommended budget maintains core programming aligned to the Board of Education's five-year goals, vision of the graduate, and mission through innovative programming K-12, elementary world language programming, supports for students' social emotional well-being, continued curriculum development aligned to our vision of the graduate and priorities, a focus on staff and faculty development, a focus on maintaining technology-integrated instruction, and class size levels in accordance with Board of Ed policy. We have much to be proud of in Farmington. Farmington continues to be highlighted at the regional, state, and national levels for excellence in teaching and learning and student outcomes. This reinforces Farmington's investment in our schools. I'll highlight a few notable examples. New Pedagogies for Deep Learning, FPS, was asked to join an international network of high-performing innovative districts. We're the only one asked in Connecticut to join this group. FHS students were invited to present at a Harvard and a Boston startup company on organizational improvement. We are part of P21, and Farmington continues to be featured on the P21 blogazine, which is viewed at the national and international levels. We've also been recognized for our focus on student voice through panorama videos, and those videos are viewed at the national and international levels as well. I am happy to report that last week, Farmington was the only district in Connecticut to be named in the Getting Smart website for school districts in the nation worth visiting. And we also received news this weekend that 2 Farmington art teachers have been named outstanding educators in Connecticut by the CAEA. These are just a few notable highlights through the community's investment in our schools. We continue to lead the way in education. Here are examples of our favorable state rankings when it comes to expenditures. I'll highlight a few of these rankings. There is a relationship between our accomplishment slide and the ranking slide, excellence in education and fiscal responsibility and management. The rankings are based on Connecticut's 169 towns, with 1 spending the most and 169 spending the least. Employee benefits, 148th. Farmington continues to partner with employees and the town on our healthcare design that provides quality healthcare benefits that engage employees as consumers. In turn, we have extraordinary trending in claims. Purchase services, 125th. This ranking reflects the excellent work of our business office through regional purchasing that has led to cost-effective purchasing. Special education, 134th. We continue to provide exemplary programming and special services in a fiscally responsible manner. School-based administration, 148th. Farmington administrators on average supervise, develop, and evaluate more teachers than similar districts. This is truly impressive when we look at the state's teacher evaluation guidelines and requirements, increased legislative demands, and our own internal expectations of our administrators. General administration is 160th. The town of Farmington has and is projected to receive diminishing financial support from the state and federal levels. This year alone, Farmington's education cost-sharing grant was reduced by approximately $200,000 as a mid-year reduction. Our open choice grant was reduced by approximately $115,000 after the start of the school year, and we received additional reductions in a multicultural arts grant. In this recommended budget, we are making some adjustments to move costs from grants to the operating budget, as grants are volatile, and we highlight some of that volatility in this slide. It is important to note that our budget has already factored in an excess cost grant from the state of Connecticut. Each year, we factor this grant into our budget. It is projected to be approximately $650,000 for next year. At this time, the governor's budget has proposed an elimination of the excess cost grant and a replacement of this grant with a special education grant. We rely on this revenue source each year specifically to fund services for students requiring the most significant special education programming and supports in Farmington. Given our outstanding outcomes coupled with our favorable expenditure rankings, here are some specific examples of how we focus each day on cost containment and avoidance while providing a quality education for Farmington students. The town of Farmington's contract negotiations for fuel has resulted in significant savings in bus fuel. Farmington has worked with its parts vendor for Chromebooks to sell back unused power adapters for new Chromebook purchases, which defray costs for repair parts. And we are a member of the ERC, and that has led to savings in our district-wide copy equipment lease in 2017, 18, and beyond. And we continue to share transportation services with other towns whenever possible for special services. Here are some additional examples of cost containment measures to address diminishing support from the state and federal levels. I'll highlight 2 areas on this slide. Given town council support, we have new vans and transportation that have increased ridership and minimized maintenance costs. Annually, we review staffing, and this has resulted in efficiencies to contain costs and to continue to align programs and services to district and school priorities. Although we have increased student need in special services, we continue to take a fiscally responsible approach to excellence in program development and services, as seen on this slide comparison of special services costs across school districts. This slide provides examples of the reductions that have occurred during the budget development process to arrive at the recommended budget level for 2017-18. It is important to note that prior to these reductions, principals brought forth budgets that reflected maintaining services, postponing improvement requests to arrive at the 2.61% increase. The first driver of the budget is salaries. As you can see, this accounts for 67.92% of the budget and reflects collaborative negotiations between various associations and the Board of Education. The 100 series reflects a 2.92% increase over this year's budget. Each year, we carefully study staffing levels to address needs and find efficiencies when possible. This budget has examples of staffing efficiencies as well as moving staffing from volatile grants to the operating budget in a phased-in approach. We also are addressing increased mandates and maintaining services and programming for our students. The second major driver is employee benefits. This account provides for 100% of expected paid claims and the administration of our employee health insurance. We're proud to continue to experience employee cost of health care services below industry average. The increase in this series is driven by stop-loss insurance increases due to catastrophic claims. You can see life and long-term disability costs on this slide as well. The 200 series accounts for 14.66% of our total budget, and there is a 3.48% increase in this account. This slide provides an overview of our best practices approach to self-insurance management. We have included some examples of how we provide excellent health care benefits to our employees while remaining fiscally responsible to the taxpayers of Farmington. It is important to note on the 200 series that it is primarily driven by stop-loss insurance costs increase due to a limited number of large claims, while overall claims are trending very well. The 300 series includes varied items. The 300 series accounts for 13.86% of the total budget. It reflects a 0.65 increase. This is an area of significant cost avoidance and containment through strong contract negotiations for utilities, fuel, and copiers. It also reflects a focus on educating our students in district, providing excellent programming in district for students with special needs. Here are some examples of cost avoidance and containment in the 300 series. All of these examples are a reflection of the hard work of faculty, staff, and the Board of Education, as well as our partnership with the town of Farmington. The 400 supply series reflects a 0.49% increase and accounts for 2.62% of the total budget. The account provides for facilities used in swimming and ice hockey competitions and for the purchase of a wide range of items such as instructional, health, custodial, computer, and testing supplies. The 500 series reflects equipment requests. It is a 0.55% of the total budget. There is a 3.61% increase for equipment. I do want to note that this is an area that has experienced cuts in the past which have impacted the pace of our technology plan implementation. We have worked in partnership with the Board of Education and Town Council to build a technology infrastructure and capacity over several years, and we're now moving to replacing and repurposing Chromebooks. There are several examples of how the school district, under Matt Ross's leadership, has focused on strategic cost allocation and excellence in programming. I'll highlight 2 items from this slide to illustrate our strategic approach. We worked out trade-ins and sellbacks with vendors for unused or replacement devices and and parts. We used the credit for new purchases. The overall savings was approximately $10,000. We deployed energy conservation utility to monitor computer power. This resulted in a reanalysis of our infrastructure and an estimated $80,000 savings to the district by Eversource. Dues and fees are the last series, the 600 series. It reflects a 0.40% of the total budget with a 0.12% increase. This includes memberships to organizations and liability and property insurance. The next slide is an overview of the major budget drivers that reflect a 2.61% increase over the 2016-17 school district budget, all of which I reviewed in this presentation. This is a unique budget year for our community. We are experiencing proposed reductions at the state and federal levels. At the same time, the state continues to increase unfunded mandates that stretch our resources. Even with these challenges, we remain committed to providing a world-class education that enables all students to achieve academic and personal excellence, exhibit persistent effort, and live as resourceful, inquiring, and contributing global citizens. Farmington is leading the way in excellence in teaching and learning, as well as student outcomes and achievements. Our financial plan supports and advances these efforts. We are a school district that provides an exemplary education in a community that supports innovation, continuous improvement, and excellence. Although fiscal limitations are impacting the rate at which we can achieve our vision of the graduate, it does not deter us from that vision. We have taken a long-term, strategic, and highly effective approach to cost containment, avoidance, and savings so that resources are aligned directly to our mission, core beliefs, and goals, which are our promises at the student level. We as a school district take great pride in implementing a strategic approach to cost containment through collaborative negotiations, partnerships, strong contract negotiations, ongoing reviews of programming and staffing to realize efficiencies, knowing that it is essential to do so on behalf of the taxpayers of Farmington, especially with diminishing financial support from the state and federal levels. Our student, faculty, school, and district accomplishments, continuous improvement efforts, rigorous curriculum, and high-quality programming have contributed to a nationally recognized education in Farmington. This recommended budget includes the resources necessary to maintain the value of the taxpayers' investment in the Farmington schools and provides a high-quality, results-oriented education that ensures that students will lead productive and rewarding lives. The recommended 2017-18 budget is responsive to our community and to our students. We look forward to presenting this budget in more detail to the Town Council and community tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Total budgetary expenditure. The total recommended budget for fiscal year 17-18 is $103,277,135, an increase of $2,677,420, or 2.66% above the current budget. In summary, again, the Board of Education is a 2.61% change, the town is a 2.41% change, debt service is a 7.15%, and capital outlay is a decrease of 4.51%.
Just the errors in the keyboard then.
Help me out, Matt. Okay. So this doesn't work. Oh, okay. Hold on, Matt, before we get crazy here. All right, so that's what we just did? Now I've lost my place.
And go one forward.
Okay, thank you. All right. Grand list. The grand list is broken down into 3 categories: real estate, personal property, and motor vehicles. The real estate account shows a 0.34% increase, the personal property account shows a 3.8% increase, and the motor vehicle account shows a 1.07% increase. In summary, the grand list increased by 0.59%, or $21,138,543. Some areas to note: personal property increased by 3.8%. This increase demonstrates the solid business environment in Farmington. Businesses are continuing to invest in Farmington. Revenues. Revenues have been broken down into categories that include other property taxes, license and permits, fines and penalties, interest, grants, service charges, other, and Westwood's Golf Course contribution. In summary, projected non-tax revenues are $7,901,702, or a decrease of 17.13% over the current year. Some areas to note: license and permits have decreased by 6.7%, mainly attributed to a decreased building permit fees. Interest income is projected to increase by 76.47%, or $65,000. Interest rates are rising and are expected to continue to do so next year. State and federal grants have been reduced by 29.14%, or $1,704,789. Due to the uncertainty of the state budget process, this account reflects the reductions of grant funding that was included in the governor's proposed budget. Service charges are projected to increase by $29,747, or 2.24%. Revenue collected from tower rental accounts for most of this increase. There are multiple communication towers in town that generate a yearly income. The Westwood's contribution account includes a $335,330 contribution from the Westwood's Golf Course Fund to the operating budget to help support golf course maintenance expenses in the general fund. Recommended tax and mill rate for 17-18. The recommended general fund budget will require a property tax rate of 26.83 mills, an increase of 1.05 mills, or a 4.1% tax increase for the average homeowner with a house assessed at $232,074. In conclusion, the recommended 17 and 18 budget meets the town council's expenditure target. This budget maintains the service levels that Farmington residents and businesses have come to expect without any expansion of service. The budget supports the management of programs and services that are in accordance with industry best practices and adheres to the strategic plan and our strong financial policies, such as the town's capital improvement plan and the recreation operational funding policy. The budget was built to maintain current service levels, ensure that our capital improvement needs are met, and to respond to a state financial crisis that will certainly have a direct impact on the town of Farmington. This budget is essentially a maintenance budget. Despite a growing debt service obligation, we have been able to maintain a strong capital improvement plan. The capital plan remains above the spending floor of 2.5% of the recommended general fund revenues for the next fiscal year. Over half of the municipal capital plan is devoted to moving key goals of the strategic plan forward. Investment in our goals makes the strategic plan a living document and accomplishes plans and projects that have been many years in the making. The state budget, as proposed by the governor, will have a significant impact on the town of Farmington. I've included the reduction in grants in this proposal, but have not included funding the new mandate on the teachers' retirement contributions. The state budget process is expected to last at least until June. As we move through our own budget workshop process this week, I would urge the town council to focus on the expenditure side of the budget. We have set up special workshops in early April to continue our discussions. We are hopeful that there will be more information available from the state at that time that will allow us to confidently move a budget to the town meeting. Despite reductions in grants and aids from the state and the potential of new and very large state mandate liabilities, we continually work to serve the community at a high level without substantially increasing tax resources. We do this while our population, infrastructure, and calls for service have grown significantly over the last decade. We continually review the organization for efficiencies, cost savings, and the implementation of best practices of municipal government. This has afforded us the ability to maintain services in a very uncertain state budget environment. My staff and I stand ready to assist you in your deliberations throughout the week. Shown here is the 2017 budget schedule. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, and Kathy. At this time, I'd ask for public comment on the public hearing, please, about the budget, specifically the budget.
Dr. Donald Doobie, 94 Oak Ridge. Thank you to the town council for this opportunity, and to the town manager, Kathy Egan, and Board of Education for presenting the information. As I see it, there's something like 3 elephants in the room, if you pardon the expression. Some of it's been mentioned already. The Governor Malloy's proposed budget, which would decrease state grants by something over $1 million. And the other side of the ledger, on the expense side, passing on to towns up to 1/3 of the teacher's pension, which I believe in round numbers is something like $3 million. And while the $1 million or $1.5 million or so reduction in state grants has been factored into the budget, and I believe you said something like $1 million. All of the risk seems to be on the upside. That is, that $3 million is looming out there. I had prior to this evening, I had seen figures very consistent with this. The Connecticut Mirror on February 8th said Farmington could be impacted by $4.8 million. The Hartford Courant said $4.2 million, so the numbers I've seen are pretty consistent with it. But as I said, on the upside risk is that $3 million or so looming, which in round numbers represents roughly a 3% increase in the budget, or that 4.1% number could look something more like 7 or 8% if all of that liability was passed on to the town. I know I've heard numbers in surrounding towns, West Hartford, kinds of numbers are roughly double this 4% increase in taxes. So it's very concerning. And the major point that I'd like to bring out is I think we have to plan for the worst and hope for the best, because, like I said, all the risk is on the upside. One more question, one more point. Some months ago, I had heard about the Chinese hacking into the contractor's payment, something of the order of $1 million, perhaps less. A couple questions. First, is that, to what extent is the town liable for that? Are we insured for that? If not, is that part of the operating budget, or eventually would it manifest itself somewhere down the line in an increase in sewerage fees, for example? So in summary, there's 3 concerns out there. One is the reduction in state grants for education. There's probably not too much we can do about that. Third, the teacher's pension costs putting on us, and I think there's risk on the upside of that. And third, I'd like to hear the resolution, if there's any, on the Chinese hacking matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And just to make it clear for the public that when we have our public comment, we won't answer your questions right now.
Okay.
But we will answer them and let you know and let the community know what those things mean.
Thank you.
Yep.
Joanne Lawson, 9 Prattling Pond. I also share concerns about what happens to us if we have to pay more of the teachers' pensions in our budget, so I'll be interested to hear about that. But on the education budget, I do understand the salaries are set based on the levels of the teachers and their steps and so forth, which makes me wonder, and I know I've asked you this before, what about this 2 elementary teachers not deployed? You had stated to me in the past, I think, that when you put these people in there, it's because you don't know the class sizes for the various schools, and you wouldn't hire them if you didn't need them. And yet it seems that every year you have that unassigned, and every year you hire them. So the only way to save on any salaries is to be very careful that you don't overhire these teachers. And I feel you're saying that they're for elementary schools. You're cutting 1.6 from Union, 1.6 from West District, and then adding 2 more back in down below. So I can't follow the numbers. I just want to exhort you to be as careful as possible, because now that I'm a little retiree, it's coming out of my pocket and I don't get raises.
Thank you. Other public comment on the...
Good evening. I'm Pierre Gerton, 12 Henley Commons. Thanks for the opportunity to speak, and on behalf of probably most citizens in the town of Farmington, thanks for the work of the council and the Board of Ed, and as well as the leadership of the town and the school district. It seems, as always has been our experience, the budget has been put together fairly well, done in a professional sort of way, and presented to us this evening, and that's greatly appreciated. It appears, as others who have spoken indicates, that it seems like most of the consternation in the budget process this year is outside of our control to a certain extent. But I guess I rise and speak as to what I find to be, totally objectionable at the state level, with the degree to which Farmington, arguably through its fiscal prudence, is actually being penalized as a result of the current proposed budget by the governor. I realize there's a process to review it, and I'm hopeful that our leadership of the town is active with our representatives at the state capitol to try to bring about something that's a bit more amenable. Town manager Kathy Egan, I think, was kind, candidly, to describe a 29% reduction in overall grants. There were 2 grants in which Farmington is totally being eliminated, 100%, one of which is an education grant, which I can only construe to imply that we no longer have anyone that we're educating in town, which is disconcerting, candidly, and offensive in that sense. So as far as the teacher salary, obviously or the teacher pension, that's an unknown. But should that come to fruition, the state will have pushed $5 million of responsibility on Farmington in 1 year, which is 5% increase over last year's approved budget, notwithstanding any of the things that we were hoping to do in our town. And so I think, for the benefit of the community who may be watching, I'm hopeful that they are able to recognize the penalties that Farmington is dealing with, and hopefully contact their representatives at the state level to hopefully accomplish a better outcome, not only for Farmington. There are other communities who've been equally treated as poorly, but certainly we happen to be in one that was in that group. The other thing, and I didn't hear it in the presentation, I know it's gotten some publicity, but I know the community is somewhat alarmed and interested in understanding the impact on town services and the cost of services as it relates to fire protection up at the Yukon campus. And I'm hopeful, through some sort of a process, that you continue to keep the community informed on those developments, because I think a number of us are critically concerned as to, again, the fairness of what appears to be a total dump on the town in terms of taking over their responsibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on the public hearing? Okay, I will close the public hearing at 8:05. Okay, we will move on to new items, which we don't have any of tonight, and regular public comment. If there's any comment on anything other on the agenda, please come up now and speak on any other issue. Okay, well, thank you. And again, I will say that all of the public comments, we hear them and we will respond to them, just not in this format. Okay, next we have reading of the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 14th, 2017 regular town council meeting.
Second.
Any corrections or changes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I move to approve the minutes of the February 28th, 2017 town council meeting.
Second.
Any corrections or changes? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, communications. Kathy?
You just have the three that was in your packet, 2 resident correspondence, and 1, again, a testimony about the teacher's pension cost to the state of Connecticut. And we also left at your places another correspondence that the Farmington Valley Collaborative has written that.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure, I was going to mention under
Yeah.
my report too, that this letter that you have at your place is a letter from the Farmington Valley Collaborative, which Kathy and I both go to. And I think it's a very good letter explaining our position on these cuts and on the governor's budget and what we need or what they should be considering when they do the budget, and just the impact. This describes the impact that it's going to have on our towns, not just Farmington, but on the group of towns that we're a part of. We also sent in, as you see in this, there are some attachments that specifically outline the amount that so far that the governor has decided would come from Farmington, what that means as far as our adopted mill rate, and what it means for percentages of what we actually pay into the state and what we actually receive from the state. So I really think it's a very good letter, and it's gone out to our representatives, and just that you can be assured that we are keeping our voices heard with the state and with our representation in Hartford. So, yes.
Can I ask a simple question
Sure.
regarding the teacher's pension
Oh.
situation in this letter that's in here? That
That's Kathy's
Kathy
letter?
wrote?
Yep.
And, I mean, I'm sure that we don't have the answer here tonight, but it's my understanding that teachers' pensions are part of good faith efforts and negotiations. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
That's where they come from, is through
Yeah,
bargaining?
Yeah.
And for at least a century, good faith negotiations have been just that, right? Good faith? And is it my understanding that these good faith negotiations for these teachers' pensions were through the state of Connecticut and not through the towns?
The pension is set, but we negotiate the pensions, not that the school does.
But in that negotiation, who is determined to fund the pensions?
The state.
Okay, so that would be a part of the good faith negotiations. So then, I guess my question is, how can that be moved onto the municipality if that is not a part of the negotiation process?
Right. Well, again,
And
and
it's
I.
rhetorical at this
Yeah.
point,
I know.
but,
Yeah.
but I would like to, if there's legal representation that can answer that, I would really like to get a much clearer understanding of that.
Well, I think that's one of the questions too. Can they?
Okay, so.
And that's part of what will have to be addressed in this.
And I think, my understanding, and I saw something either today, but I know both CCM, which is our lobbyist group, and COST, which is also our lobbyist group, is going to, I think, be taking legal action about the legality of this whole
Okay,
thing.
good.
So there is that I just heard just in the last day or so.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, thank you, sorry to.
No, that's fine, because it's a really important issue to many of us.
May I
Yes.
ask a question on that letter,
Sure.
too? I think public education is so important in terms of what we convey, but also what the press conveys. And I was just wondering if the press has some of the numbers in there, because they're really good numbers. I mean, they tell a really accurate story of the impact of these decisions.
Well, it may be a good idea for me to make sure that we could send this to the press,
Yeah.
hand it to you tonight,
Yeah.
and also make sure that the other
Yeah.
papers get this as
Yeah.
well.
Absolutely.
Because this is, I mean, this really does succinctly put down what the problems are, what the costs are, and definitely. So we'll make sure that they all get it.
Thank you.
Thank you, that's a good idea. Yep. Okay. And I think the idea that we're talking about this and publicly, the community will understand and know these issues, like the legal one as well, is very important right now, so. Okay, report of committees. Yukon Health, we don't have a meeting with them right now as far as our health committee is concerned. We are going to be meeting with Yukon as far as the fire issue in our town. We are going to be meeting with them and talking about what the plans are, and we will let you know what the result of that is. We're going to be meeting tomorrow, so.
I think it's noteworthy to note that we've changed the Yukon meetings to biannual rather than quarterly.
Oh, yes.
So just for the public's knowledge.
Yes, the meetings that we have, the town of Farmington with Yukon, where we discuss all of the issues at Yukon with their addition, with the expansion, and how they relate to Farmington, and our cooperation and collaboration are going to be twice a year instead of 4 times a year now. They've pretty much finished the outside of Yukon. Now they're really working on the interior. But we'll still meet with them to talk about any other issues. But this fire issue, as you know, is completely separate and is something we'll be meeting with them a few times about this. We'll be working with them to come forward with a plan that we will make sure will be concerning the safety of our town, the citizens and businesses here in Farmington. So you can be assured of that. Okay, land acquisition,
Nothing to report.
green efforts.
So the Green Efforts Committee met this month and continues to plan for Farmington Cleanup Day, which has been scheduled for the 29th of April. So hope everybody can get out and support us on that. Thank you.
The joint town of Farmington, nothing new there. Bike committee.
So the Bike Committee also met this month, and we've been assigned a new staff person, Bruce Sear, and that seems to be working out very good.
Great. Farmington Gateway.
Just a calendar note, the March 17th meeting will be canceled due to our ongoing budget deliberations because Amy and I will be here. And our next meeting will be, I think, April 21st will be our next meeting for the Gateway. And nothing new to report also.
Okay. High school renovation committee.
I do actually have some details because at the March 1st meeting, the committee chairman specifically asked me to pass along to the council details at this point, so I've got notes. So on March 1st, the Farmington High School Building Committee voted to approve option D1 as the preferred concept to address the needs of the high school facility and move the project forward. And moving it forward means moving it into the schematic design and pricing phase. So I just wanted to give you highlights of option D1. The school itself is proposed at 239,000 square feet, roughly a little over that. Board of Ed has 9,000 square feet. These are rounded numbers, so the exact numbers are up on the project's website. This will also be coming out to the whole community in a community newsletter. These are just the high points for the council right now. Of the building, 86% of it will be new construction, and 14% will be renovation of the existing building. It entails new classrooms, new science labs, new academic learning clusters, new library, cafeteria, gyms, locker rooms, fitness room, band and choral classrooms, arts classrooms. The auditorium will be new and expanded. Expansion of existing multipurpose athletic fields, renovation of existing stadium fields, relocation of the tennis courts. There will be a separated bus and parent drop-off locations, increased parking. I don't know what we have currently, but there will be proposed 527 spaces. And obviously, the new design will fully address security and ADA compliance issues. Also, it will address the HVAC, mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, all of that. So those are the high points of option D1. So what's going on right now is that the architects are working on schematic designs. Those are scheduled to be completed in early April. And what we've got coming up is a regular building committee meeting on Wednesday, March 22nd. And then this is an important date. On March 30th, there is a 5:30 high school tour that I believe steps off from the auditorium. Am I right about that? And then that will be followed by a community meeting at 7 o'clock. So again, that's March 30th. And the community meeting at 7 o'clock will focus on on the details of this option. So schematic design, cost estimating. What happens once the cost estimating is complete is that this moves to TPZ for informal review, I suppose it is, not approval but review, and then it does move to the Board of Ed and Town Council for approval for a referendum. So those are kind of the next steps. And the actual dates of those are dependent upon when the schematic designs are actually complete. But I'm guessing May.
Any questions for Meredith or right now?
Meredith, only because it's probably good for you to tell people. You said about 20% is currently existing and 80% is new. Can you just describe for everyone what's going to be kept and what's going to be new and where the main location of the building will be?
Right, so it's 86% new construction, 14% renovation of the existing building, and I believe that 14% includes the 2003 part of the building that we are actually still paying for. That will be repurposed. It won't be used in the same way that it's being used now. And what I did not note, and maybe Kathy can speak to a little bit, is the 1928 building, because that is going to remain standing, but is not part of the construction process as.
And I think it's still under consideration about whether or not the Board of Education offices will be moving into the 1928 building, or what the use of the 1928 building is going to be.
So the location will be essentially where the high school is currently, more or less.
It's going to work off of the 2003 building, so heading to, on both sides of the 2003 building, right?
Right, so the 2003 building on one side will be the academic, the learning clusters, and the learning commons, which is the library, and the other side will house more of the gym auditorium functions with a cafeteria in the middle.
Any? I will just one comment when we talk about the 1928 building. I think it's just that I think it's a historical piece in town, and I would hope that they would look to use that somehow, whether it be part of offices for the school, or however they may, the alternative school they mentioned at one point, or the Board of Ed offices, but some way use that building in a way that we can continue to have it be a piece, historical building in town.
And I think all of those options are still in play.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anything? Okay. Chair report, report of council chair and liaisons. The chair report, just to let you know again that we are working to make sure that the community in Hartford, the legislators, the different organizations that we're a part of, CROG and the Farmington Valley Collaborative, and many different things, whether it's CCM or cost, we're making sure that we are vocal on what these kinds of things and changes, what this budget that the governor has at this point means to Farmington. I will certainly
feel that the community should go ahead and call your representatives and call your legislators and make sure that they know if you have concerns, as we do, about the future of Farmington. I don't believe that this is the end. Unfortunately, I believe this cut in grants this year is only the beginning right now. And I'm very fearful of what will happen in the future for Farmington and our communities around the area. So I think that, well, we're going to be going through this in our budget in the next few days of a lot more discussion about what our future is and what we should be doing here. I do believe, as some people suggested today, that we're very vigilant in budgeting, and we have been for years and years. And I feel it's really a shame, and I will use the word punished. The towns around that are very fiscally responsible and have sound budgeting and listen to their communities are just, don't seem to be heard at the Capitol. So the voices that, more voices will, I hope, help. So please let your voice be heard for Farmington, and we have some tough deliberations ahead of us. But so, Board of Ed.
Board of Ed, the last day of school will now be in the middle of July sometime. Just kidding. No, really nothing to report outside of budget deliberations are ongoing, and that's really about it.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Glad for the levity. UVIA.
Nothing to report.
TPZ.
Nothing to report.
Water pollution.
I'll only just repeat that the sewer usage rates for commercial and residential will remain the same in the proposed next budget, so there will be no rate increases.
EDC.
Nothing to report.
Human Relations.
Nothing to report.
Chamber of Commerce.
Nothing to report.
And any other liaison reports tonight? Okay, report of the town manager. Kathy.
Just a short report tonight. I just wanted to give you a copy of the flyer that's going out with community and recreational services. As you know, one of our goals is to really kind of have people more aware of what community and recreation is in the town of Farmington and the supportive services. So I thought this was a nice newsletter type of an informational thing that they are giving out to people. So I just gave you a copy of that. And also just for information, just the Westwood School playground update, that the fundraising group is well on their way. And as you remember, the town council referred the playground to the TPZ, and on February 13th, the TPZ had a positive report, and now they're fundraising and moving forward. So just a FYI.
Great. And at this point, I would just like to say, to really commend the town and the playground committee and the school over at Westwoods. They've worked hard over this past year, and it has been a lot of hard work of just with the community and with the school and the town. But everybody has really worked hard and stepped up. And it just shows, again, the support of the community. The Lions Club has given a $50,000 grant, matching grant to the school for this playground. And it's just wonderful that the community steps up to help out the schools and so many of the other organizations in town. So thank you to all of the groups, and we look forward to going over and having a ribbon cutting one of these things. So thanks to all of you.
I move to approve the report of the town manager.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, any appointments? Nope. M.
I move that the term of Jack Matava on the Town Plan and Zoning Commission ends on January 2nd, 2018.
Second.
This is just a correcting motion from the February 14th agenda. The motion stated the term would end on January 2020 instead of January 2018.
Okay, any comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. N1.
I move to set a public hearing on Monday, April 3rd, 2017 at 7:05 PM in the Town Hall, Council Chambers, on the Town Council's proposed budget for the fiscal year 2017-2018.
Second.
This is our public hearing and our council meeting on the town council's proposed budget. And just a reminder, that is on Monday, not on Tuesday night, and that has to do with our charter requirements for the budget.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. N2.
All right, I move to cancel the March 28th, 2017 Town Council meeting.
Second.
Historically, we have canceled that meeting after we've gone through our budget week.
Any questions?
District-wide, all parents can be there. It's district-wide. It's when all of the bands from all the schools are together.
Oh.
My daughter won't have me missing it this year.
Ditto.
Yeah, you'll be there too.
I will, yes.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? N3.
I move to amend Chapter 55 purchasing of the Farmington Town Code as attached.
Second.
Okay, I think Joe gave the presentation on this earlier, and are there any further questions? Yes.
I just
go
have one. Joe, question for you. Between the 5 and 10,000, all you're requiring was verbal. Can you sort of expand on that?
Sure. Basically, verbal, we just contacted the vendor either through email or through a phone call and get their quote, obtain a quote that way.
Why not have it written? I'm from a world that you always have things written.
Before the actual purchase would take place, it would be reduced to a purchase order. So once a vendor is selected, the low quoted vendor would be selected, and then at that point, a purchase order would have to be processed, indicating the item being purchased or obtained and the price that they quoted.
Isn't there a benefit to having a paper trail of the whole process?
At that point, probably not. You have a purchase order, which is really what you would be holding them to.
But if you went out and asked 3 different people, it would just be someone's conversation. There would be no...
Right, and the department that obtains the quotes would have to reduce the quotes to paper when they submit it to us. So then that would be the only place where there would actually be paper.
So the benefit of it, like why push having verbal instead of having it written? Just easier?
It's just easier again. And again, it's just a matter of, nowadays with purchasing, as I mentioned before, a lot of times vendors just don't want to be bothered with filling out paperwork for low quantity amounts. A lot of times, we find that especially difficult with bids. I mean, you're bidding something between $10,000 to under $20,000. A lot of vendors will say they just don't want to bother to do it. They don't want to submit your paperwork. And we're actually adding a step here with the written quotes. We're going to actually have an actual form that we're going to require. We're going to send to a vendor and have them fill out and hopefully return back to us. And a lot of them, even when we identify vendors for a purchase in the $10,000 to $25,000 range, a lot of them will get that piece of paper and they don't want to bother with it. It's a matter of them to research it, put the number down, send it back to you. So.
But you're talking about $5,000. So, I mean, if they can't be bothered with a piece of paper, I mean, I guess it's just...
Now at $2,500. It's one of the big complaints I get now with departments, because we require now at a $2,500 level that you have to get 3 verbal quotes. And look at numerous times where vendors just won't reply. They'll call them, and vendors say, okay, I'll get back to you, and they never call back. We get a lot of that now with even the written quotes at $5,000 to $10,000. You'll get vendors they just don't want to bother with it. So it's difficult sometimes. It's actually difficult to get vendors to want to submit, take the time to do that. I don't know if they're just not interested in the work. A lot of them just aren't interested in working with the government. They fear the regulations or the requirements that we're going to have.
So if you do verbally, you take away that. I'm just trying to understand. I mean, because I'm not going to stop anyone tonight, but my bias is always to have a paper trail.
But
that's what we do with the purchase order.
No, but the paper trail would be from the beginning of the process.
But Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, though. We're doing a paper trail, but we're doing it based on a verbal quote, right?
Right.
So we're keeping track. We're writing it down that we got 3 verbal quotes, but we're not forcing them to write to us. So the paperwork's still there. So instead of us saying, you have to send something back to us that says the quote, they say, okay, it's $3,000. The other person says it's $3,500. And then we submit something to Joe that said, I got 3 verbal quotes. It was $3,500, $3,000, $3,000. I'm taking this one. And then a purchase order goes with that number.
But if someone tweaks it and decides out $3,000, then they get the business, and then they say, well, things have changed, it's now $3,500. They haven't given you a document.
But they
It's just, so what you write is, it's to some extent, again, I'm just,
Don't they have to sign the purchase order?
Yeah.
no, if in the process you end to decide to go with someone else, I'm just saying, I would just be more comfortable with paperwork. Is it normal in the industry that everyone just does verbally? Is that what our other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of them will basically either go, verbal quotes. The major ways of purchasing, verbal quotes, bidding, and cooperative purchases. And so that's just the three things. Written quotes are, I've been doing written quotes for 30 years, and really, they've really fallen out of favor.
What about via email? Are they still intimidated by just emailing
Well,
you?
again,
You have a
that's-
conversation,
that's
hey, do you
not-
mind doing a follow-up with an email?
Well, but that is another option, because nowadays, everything is, not, I wouldn't say everything, but 60 to 70% of what we do is email. So it's, when I say verbal quote, it could, it's more than likely could be an email. It could be
Because-
something where,
No, because an email, to me, an email, like, let's say you have a conversation,
Right.
and if there's a follow-up email and that doesn't intimidate them, it just gives a better paper. I'm trained that things should always be written, so just this verbal thing, I'm not as comfortable with. I would
I
rather
don't
an
even
email.
think we do as much verbal just because of the emails now anyway.
right.
Well,
that's what
can we
I'm
put it
saying.
as email instead of verbal?
But that's a good example. I threw out an email to 4 vendors for a $20,000 purchase. That was on a state contract. There was 4 vendors on a state contract, and they said contact each vendor, for this piece of equipment to get a price from them. The ballpark was that it'd be between $19,000 and $20,000. I sent out 4 emails to 4 vendors. I got 1 response.
Means the other 3 don't want it for a certain, and you, right, but they responded via email.
No, nothing.
No, but the person who did respond
Oh,
responded
yeah.
via email.
Okay. Yeah, but again, that's the way we do a lot of our purchasing now. So when I say verbal, more than likely it's going to be an email.
Yeah, I don't know, I would just be more comfortable with somehow.
Just one
If you're
question.
considering, go ahead.
Probably ultimately where you lock in their prices when you submit the purchase order to them, and then they're going to confirm the purchase order to you and sign it and send it back?
We'll send them the purchase order, and they'll either comply with the purchase order and send us the goods, or provide the services.
Yep.
Or they'll send it back saying, we can't.
Yeah, ultimately, so if they agree to the sale, they sign off on the purchase order.
Right.
And when they invoice you, if it's higher than the purchase order, it gets kicked back.
We don't allow
Yeah.
over and above without prior
Right,
permission.
right. So that's where I agree with you, Amy. So that's ultimately their protection there is their purchase order.
Right, but
As
if
long
they
as
were-
it's signed off by the vendor.
And not to belabor the point, but if there were 3 people proposing, and they all
Yeah.
if you didn't do it via email, and there was some discrepancy, and someone was upset that you got the deal
Yeah,
and John
yeah.
didn't, if you don't have something, you just open yourself up. But if email is the way you do it, email and verbal to me are 2 different worlds. If there's an email that's coming back, then my issue, like, I don't care what that wrote. So I guess I would be more comfortable with email.
It's not
Sorry,
100%
I don't mean to
email, but
bombard you in this.
No, it's not 100% email, but it's like 60% email.
Yeah, it's just opening yourself up for problems.
And like I said, we don't usually get vendors at that level contesting.
There's always someone.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, N4.
All right. I move that the firm of Bloom Shapiro be appointed as the town's independent auditor for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
Second.
And I am recommending that we continue to go with Bloom Shapiro because, and we can all, but we've been with Bloom Shapiro for a number of years. We are doing this has come out now, it's every 5 years we have to go out to bid for this. And you do see that it is a little bit different. It's $1,500 different than the other firm, Mahoney Sable. I just feel that we've been working with Bloom Shapiro. We're very happy. By we, I mean the town. We haven't had any problem with them. So I would suggest that we just continue with them. It has been suggested to me, though, that it isn't a bad idea to every few years have someone different from the company, from Bloom and Shapiro, from the accounting company, be the person that, have somebody new, just to look at it with fresh eyes. So I think that's something we could think about as we move forward, that we have another person Not that we don't like our person, but just for fresh eyes and a new look. But I do think we should continue with them, because I do feel that we haven't had any problem and we've had good results. So if anyone, any discussion about that at all? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? N5.
I move to accept the attached annual report.
Second.
And you all have a copy of the annual report?
Yes,
We're
we do.
required to do that, so
Very nice job. Thank you.
Deb Bull in our office and Erica put that together for us.
Great.
Nice job, Erica.
Thank you. Thanks to Deb as well.
Nice photography.
Yeah.
Yes. But, yeah, the internet's great. Any questions about it? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and 6.
I move to approve the Central Connecticut Innovation Places Consortium Innovation Places Implementation Grant Resolution.
Second.
We don't need to read the whole resolution?
No.
Okay. Do you want to?
Yeah, so I can just summarize the resolution. We're approving, it's a resolution in support. And last summer, we were invited to partner with the town of Berlin, City of New Britain, and the Greater New Britain Chamber of Commerce and CCSU Institute for Technology to submit an innovation place planning grant to Connecticut Next. So my understanding, I think we have someone here to talk about it too, but let me kind of give what my understanding of it is, and then you can fill in the blanks if needed. Rose Ponte has been working with the group, and what my understanding is that they've applied for the first grant, and it was $40,000. And what that grant was for was basically for this group of people to get together and come up with a new innovative a grant to the planning grant was submitted in the early fall, and we were awarded $40,000, and to submit an implementation grant application. And this is, you're kind of coming up with a highly collaborative group of people to come up with some new idea to bring in businesses to the area. And what you're doing is that, I think what you're doing is you're trying to come up with this idea right now. And once you come up with that idea, we're going to be applying for a grant to implement that idea. And the grant is, I think, over 3 years, close to $3 million. So it's a really large grant. And so the $40,000 was, we got that, and now this group is together to come up with this grant. It's an economic development grant for all of the communities that we just discussed, to come up with this idea that then we apply for the $3 million over 3 years that will implement that new idea. Is that pretty close to it? If it's not, say
would you like to
sort
add?
of, say something similar to that.
You can come up to the mic,
Like,
sure,
sure.
certainly. You've waited this long,
Long,
thank
I
you.
know.
Yeah.
I'm a resident of Farmington, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So,
And let us know who you can
Your
say
name.
your name and.
I'm John Massa, and I'm assistant to our current president, Tim Stewart, at the Greater New Britain Chamber of Commerce. So, what you've said, Kathy, is pretty much on the line on what we're doing. We've been putting in a lot of work concerning this grant. I mean, a lot. We've hosted focus groups with many different industries on their ideas, to get their ideas, to get more shareholders involved from 3 different communities. I've been administering a survey on behalf of residents and students, and a second prong of businesses and nonprofits. And Rose has really put in her work in getting those businesses to respond to that survey, especially when she was out, for her, So, she's really gone above and beyond. And we're really confident in getting this, because I don't think any other town or city has put in the amount of work as we have. And these 3 communities have a unique assets to them that no other community doesn't. New Britain, I don't know if you are aware of this, but it has an underground fiber network that's connected to the SEN network. So, in this fiber optic network runs from New York City to Boston, I think all the way to Chicago as well. And we're trying to bring in a data mining center. This would be a huge boon to the city and the surrounding communities. And Jackson Labs has been another major partner in our application process. So they've been on board with this. We want to create, string all these industries together into one cohesive unit where we're bringing in new talent, people who have STEM backgrounds, engineers, entrepreneurs, anybody that's, healthcare industry, manufacturing, biotechnology, and with, our fast track and Berlin's new train station, well, burnt unfortunately, it'll bring in more people from New York City, other cities, to bring these people into a central area. And Farmington has excellent schools, as we've heard today. So we have many different assets, and we have Central involved as well. We're the fiduciary. So it's really important that we have 100% commitment in this grant. Thank you.
Great.
And this is the resolution supporting it.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming tonight and speaking.
Kathy, when do they apply?
When do you apply?
Right now, right?
No, but for the
Oh.
final, yeah. No, you could,
That's fine. What was your question?
the timeline. So when is your deadline to make this
So
proposal?
at
When do you hear?
the beginning of March, we had a preliminary deadline just to make sure that, okay, you guys are doing the work, right? And by the beginning of April, we should have everything submitted, all our reports, our asset map, everything all together by then. And then by summer is when the announcements will come on who the winners are.
Great.
And like I said, I'm fairly confident we got this.
Good. Well, you got a great team, it sounds like.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. N7.
I move to approve the property tax refunds as shown on agenda item N7.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and we do not have an executive session, so can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So we will all be here back
4
here at
o'clock.
4 o'clock tomorrow.